Hello, and welcome to Sleepy Scientist. I am so glad you're here. If you're settling into your bed, curling up in your favorite chair, or simply trying to slow down after a long day of being human, you are in exactly the right place. This is that quiet corner of the internet where science speaks in a soft voice, and curiosity wears its pajamas. Tonight, we will dive into the dream-filled depths of our minds and explore what science has discovered so far about dreams and the sleeping brain. So, what exactly is a dream? It sounds like such a simple question, doesn't it? However, defining a dream is a bit like trying to hug a cloud. You can reach out for it, but the dream slips through your arms before you can grasp anything tangible. At its core, a dream is a series of thoughts, images, emotions, and sensations created by your mind while you sleep. It is an original streaming service broadcasted directly from your brain's production studio. Sometimes it's dramatic, sometimes absurd, sometimes terrifying, and often, it's completely nonsensical. Yet, despite all their surreal qualities, dreams feel undeniably real while they are happening. You might fly, fall, argue with a walrus wearing a tuxedo, or find yourself late for high school exams even though you graduated a decade ago. And during the dream, you are convinced that all of this makes perfect sense. But why does your brain do this? Let's travel back in time, to those ancient days when humans didn't have neuroscience, but they did have dreams. In ancient Mesopotamia, dreams were considered messages sent from the gods. In ancient Greece, Aristotle suggested that dreams might originate from the dreamer themselves, rather than divine sources. Then we arrive at the man who made dreams fashionable again. Sigmund Freud. Freud believed that dreams were the royal road to the unconscious, revealing hidden desires and forbidden wishes. His student, Carl Jung, took a different path, believing dreams connected us to a shared human experience. But right at this point, modern science taps philosophy on the shoulder and asks, "May I take a look?" Modern neuroscience takes a much more tangible approach. Researchers now examine sleeping brain activity. The findings show that dreams are closely linked to REM sleep. Rapid eye movement. During this stage, your brain is surprisingly active, sometimes almost as active as when you are awake. Your eyes dart back and forth under your eyelids, and your body becomes temporarily paralyzed. This is for your own good, otherwise, you might try to act out your dreams right there on your pillow. Think of your brain like a magnificent librarian. The thousands of data points, faces, and emotions from your day are like scattered files. The dreaming process is a night shift, where these files are sorted, the important ones are sealed into long-term memory, and the unnecessary ones are deleted. Dreaming is also a secret therapy session. During REM sleep, levels of stress hormones drop dramatically. This allows the brain to process painful memories by stripping them of their emotional sting in a safe environment. Now, to understand on which stages and by which rules this mysterious theater of dreams is performed, we need to look behind the curtain, at sleep itself. We often think of sleep as a single block, a dark process where a switch is simply turned off. We say, "I slept, and I woke up." However, sleep is not like falling off a cliff, it is more like slowly ascending and descending the stairs of a magnificent, multi-story building. Scientists call this sleep architecture. Throughout the night, these cycles repeat approximately every 90 minutes. Consisting of stations that meet the different needs of our mind and body. Imagine you've laid your head on the pillow and closed your eyes. At that moment, you step into what we call N1, the lightest and most fragile stage of sleep. This is that blurry, twilight zone between wakefulness and sleep. In this stage, you might startle suddenly with the sensation of falling, a phenomenon known as a hypnic jerk. Your mind has not yet fully surrendered. Brief images and fragmented thoughts pass before your eyes, like a trailer before the main movie. Then, you descend one step further down the stairs, to the N2 stage. This is where true sleep begins. Your heart rate slows down, and your body temperature drops. Yet, something interesting happens. Sudden bursts of energy called sleep spindles appear in your brain waves. These bursts are protective shields, allowing you to stay asleep despite external noises, and serving to strengthen your memory. Shortly after, you reach the deepest and most restorative station of sleep, N3, also known as slow wave sleep. This is where our mind falls into silence, but our body works the hardest. Growth hormones are secreted, cells are repaired, and the immune system is strengthened. If someone wakes you up here, you feel as if you've just surfaced from the very bottom of the ocean. And just when you think it's all over, your brain suddenly shifts gears. You climb rapidly from the depths back toward the surface, and enter the famous REM stage. This is where the lights of the dream factory turn on. When you reach REM sleep, fireworks practically begin to explode in your brain. While there was total silence in the N3 stage just moments ago, now your mind is as if it has embarked on an intergalactic journey. REM sleep is also known in the scientific world as paradoxical sleep. It is given this name because the brain acts as if it is awake, while the body is completely paralyzed. Your eyes move rapidly back and forth behind closed lids, as if watching an invisible tennis match. So, what is happening behind the scenes on this busy stage? In this stage, your brain's limbic system, the command center for emotions, is operating at full capacity. The amygdala, that small almond-shaped structure that manages our fears, is highly active. This is why our dreams are filled with such intense feelings. No matter how absurd the plot may be, the emotion you feel at that moment is authentic. One of the most interesting features of REM sleep is that the prefrontal cortex, which allows us to think logically, is largely deactivated. The prefrontal cortex acts as a sort of logic filter, or an editor. When you are awake, you immediately notice logic gaps, but in a dream, you don't question the strangeness of playing chess with a purple lion. Because the editor is asleep, the storyteller gains ultimate freedom. You don't need rules while creating your own surreal masterpiece. Another fascinating detail, during the REM stage, our brain cuts off the signals going to our motor neurons, putting our muscles into a state of temporary paralysis. This is an evolutionary safety mechanism. Your brain handcuffs you to the bed, so that you can safely experience even your wildest adventures, without actually leaping out of your room. With each cycle, the duration of REM increases slightly. While it lasts only a few minutes at the beginning of the night, it can last nearly an hour in the final cycle, just before you wake up. This is why the dreams you have in the morning feel as vivid and memorable as an epic film. Having stepped out of this uncontrolled theater, let us now focus on the most fundamental question. Why does our brain go through all this trouble? Why does it drag us into these surreal adventures, every single night? Asking why we dream is a subject as profound as asking, why do we think? Or, why do we fall in love? In the world of science, there isn't a single, correct answer. Instead, there are powerful theories that complement one another, each illuminating a different facet of our dreams. One of the most popular theories suggests that dreams are a threat simulation. According to evolutionary psychologists, dreams are essentially survival rehearsals, conducted in a safe environment. Today, when you dream about being late for an exam, or being embarrassed in public, your brain is practicing against the threats of the modern world. When the dream ends, your capacity to handle that stress has increased, even if you don't realize it. Another crucial approach is the emotional first aid theory. According to this view, dreams sand down the sharp edges of the heavy emotions we experience during the day. REM sleep is the only time when stress chemicals, like noradrenaline, are at their lowest. Dreams are the nightly bandages that wrap our psychic wounds. Some scientists point to a more technical function, mental decluttering. Every day, our brain is filled with a massive amount of unnecessary information. According to this theory, dreams are the brain's "clear out the junk" command. From this perspective, dreams are just the random images reflected on the screen, while the brain is reformatting itself. However, we must not forget that dreams are also a magnificent creativity engine. Many scientists and artists owe their greatest discoveries to their dreams. In a dream, our brain brings together concepts it would never pair while awake, and whispers to us, "Why not?" Now, let's move beyond these abstract theories and embark on a journey toward the physical map of dreams, within our brain, those glowing neural highways. This storyteller inside our brain works not only with theories, but with physical marvels of engineering. Now, let's travel to the real command center of dreams. When you close your eyes and begin to dream, your brain is not a dark room, it is like a massive metropolis, where thousands of lights flicker simultaneously. However, in this metropolis, while some neighborhoods fall into complete silence, others host a wild party that lasts until morning. By observing sleeping brains with fMRI machines, scientists have succeeded in mapping the dreaming mind. One of the brightest spots on this map is the amygdala. Located deep within our brain, this small, almond-shaped structure is the main hub for our emotions. During REM sleep, the amygdala can be even more active than when you are awake. A dream is the amygdala's space for an emotional release. Right next to it lies the hippocampus, which we could call the screenwriter of dreams. The hippocampus is where our memories are stored and organized. When night falls, it randomly selects fragments of these memories and weaves them together. It might blend the meal you ate yesterday with a vacation you took 10 years ago. This is the secret behind those familiar, yet strange locations in our dreams. So, why are dreams so absurd? This is where the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, comes into play. This is our brain's center for logic and self-control. When we dream, this region shuts down almost completely. It is like the critic in a theater leaving the hall. Gravity disappears, time bends, and you never find it strange, because your logic is in a deep slumber. Finally, we must mention the visual cortex. The interesting thing is this. When you see something in a dream, your brain does not need external light. The visual cortex is stimulated from within. This is why the colors and shapes in dreams can sometimes be even more vivid than those we see while awake. This is not just a biological process, it is a personal cinema. But sometimes, something happens in this cinema, and you realize you are the audience. You get up from your seat, and begin to intervene with the screen. Welcome to that magical moment where you cease to be the spectator, and become both the director and the lead actor. Welcome to the clearest boundary of the mind. Have you ever suddenly stopped in a dream and said, "Wait a second, this can't be real"? Maybe you were soaring through the sky, or walking in a park with a pet that passed away years ago. That moment of awareness opens the door to a phenomenon science calls lucid dreaming, lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming is simply the state of being aware that you are dreaming. It is the sudden lighting of consciousness, like a beacon shining in the hazy depths of sleep. So, how is this scientifically possible? In a normal dream, your prefrontal cortex, the logic center, is asleep. However, during a lucid dream, this region suddenly clicks on. The brain enters a strange hybrid state. It possesses both the creativity of REM sleep and the self-awareness of wakefulness. In the 1980s, a scientist named Stephen LaBerge, proved that this was not just a claim. He told his subjects to move their eyes in a prearranged rhythm, once they realized they were dreaming. And it happened. On the screens in the sleep lab, people in deep sleep were seen sending signals with their eyes. This was the first postcard sent from the dream world to the waking world. Lucid dreaming is not just for fun. Many people use this method to overcome phobias or solve complex problems. When you know you are in a dream, you can turn off gravity or face your greatest fear safely. Because you know that no matter what happens, you are in your bed, completely safe. However, our minds do not always play such friendly games with us. Sometimes, those bright lights go out, replaced by dark labyrinths, from which it is hard to escape. Those peaceful scenes suddenly darken, walls collapse upon us, and we find ourselves in a chase from which we cannot flee. Now, we will look at one of the most jarring stops of sleep, the shadowy side of dreams. Nightmares are not just bad dreams. They are the most intense, the loudest, and sometimes the most out-of-control states of our brain's emotional processing mechanism. They usually occur in the later hours of the night, during the longest and most vivid periods of REM sleep. But why does our own mind prepare such terrifying scenarios for us? From a scientific perspective, nightmares are often an expression of unprocessed fears, lingering stress, or deep-seated trauma. The threat simulation theory we explored earlier comes into play here in its most primal form. Our brain tests extreme scenarios to prepare us for potential dangers we might encounter in the waking world. However, sometimes this simulation is so realistic, so incredibly intense, that the amygdala, your fear center, becomes overstimulated. At that moment, your brain hits the emergency brake to rescue you. It wakes you up. The fact that your heart is pounding against your ribs, and you are drenched in sweat when you open your eyes, is physical proof that your brain perceived that dream as a direct, tangible danger. This brings us to a fascinating question regarding the evolutionary origin of nightmares and whether they are a survival mechanism. According to many researchers, nightmares are actually our brain's debugging mode. If you are experiencing intense stress or suppressed fear in real life, your brain refuses to sweep it under the rug. Instead, it turns this information into a dramatic scenario. Biologically, our brain is programmed to keep us alive above all else. Escaping an attacker in a dream is actually your brain's way of saying, if this happens in real life, I am testing the escape routes and reaction speeds right now. But sometimes, this mental drill is so grueling that the entire system overheats and forces you back into consciousness. We can also look at nightmares as a form of emotional garbage disposal. Modern psychology often views them as an emotional digestive system. The small disturbances, workplace tensions, or the quiet uncertainties about the future that you encounter during the day, can transform into giant, breathing monsters during sleep. Your brain allows you to face these abstract fears by turning them into concrete, visual images. Thus, that terrifying dream is actually your mind's effort to clean itself. That sudden wave of relief you feel when you wake up, saying, "Thank God, it was just a dream," is a sign that your brain has successfully processed that emotion and filed it away in the archives. However, there is another much more mysterious phenomenon, which we must distinguish from typical nightmares. Night terrors, or terror with closed consciousness. Watching someone experience a night terror can be truly uncanny. Unlike nightmares, these occur not during REM sleep, but during the N3 stage, the deepest, heaviest part of sleep. A person experiencing this may suddenly sit up in bed, eyes wide open, perhaps even screaming, but they don't actually see you. They are caught in a software error during the transition from deep sleep to wakefulness. Their emotional centers have woken up, while their memory and consciousness centers are still profoundly asleep. Because the memory recorder is turned off in this stage, the person remembers absolutely nothing when they wake up in the morning. It is as if those dark moments never happened, and those screams were never uttered. As we look for an exit from the darkness and ways of coping with nightmares, we find that if you are seeing recurring dark dreams, it is a message from your brain. Chronic stress, a suspenseful movie, or even a heavy meal can trigger this cycle. Scientists often use image rehearsal therapy, where you write down your nightmare while awake, and consciously change the ending to a happy or peaceful one. Once the brain learns this new scenario, it can find the exit door the next time it enters that dark labyrinth at night. Now, let us emerge from this heavy emotional load of nightmares, and move toward the strangest point on the threshold between body and mind, that uncanny void where your mind is awake, but your body is still trapped in the paralyzing arms of sleep. Have you ever suddenly woken up from sleep, and realized that when you opened your eyes, you couldn't move a single muscle in your body? You want to speak, but no sound comes out. You try to breathe, but there is a heavy, crushing pressure on your chest. Known colloquially in many cultures as the old hag, or in others as carabasin, this condition is actually one of the most fascinating and misunderstood phenomena of science: sleep paralysis. We can understand this better by looking at it as a systemic synchronization error. In reality, sleep paralysis is a wonderful mechanism your brain uses to protect you, but it is kicking in at exactly the wrong time. Recall from our earlier chapters that during REM sleep, our brain temporarily paralyzes our muscles, a state called atonia. This is a vital safety lock. A biological, stay in bed, command to prevent us from literally jumping out of bed while running in our dreams. Sleep paralysis occurs when your mind suddenly clicks into wakefulness from this REM stage, but your body forgets to exit this state of paralysis. In other words, your mind is awake and your consciousness is clear, but your body is still locked in dream mode. You are a ghost inhabiting a stone statue. This brings us to the more haunting aspect of the experience. Nightmares seen with eyes open, and the nature of hallucinations. What makes sleep paralysis so terrifying is not just the inability to move. This condition is often accompanied by very vivid and terrifying hallucinations. You might feel someone is in the room, see a dark shadow approaching you from the corner of your eye, or even think someone is sitting on your chest. Why does the brain create these terrifying images? The answer again lies in the amygdala. When your body cannot move, your brain perceives this immobility as a threat and enters survival mode. The amygdala looks for a danger in the environment to justify this fear, and upon finding none, it projects the dreaming mechanism of REM onto the waking world. So those shadows, or demons, are actually visual stories created by your brain, to explain the state of your immobility. Closely tied to this is the sensation of pressure on the chest and shortness of breath. Many people feel they cannot breathe during these moments. The scientific explanation is actually quite simple. While asleep, your breathing is automatic and shallow. When you suddenly wake up, you try to take voluntary, deep control of your breathing, but your respiratory muscles are still in their deep sleep mode. This creates a biological illusion, a phantom weight that causes you to feel as if there is a heavy object on your chest. But how do we escape this state? The best thing to do while experiencing sleep paralysis is to remind yourself that this is a purely scientific system error, and try to stay calm. Usually, small muscle groups, like your fingertips or eye muscles, are the fastest to recover from this paralysis. Focusing all your intent on moving just one finger can enable the brain to send the final, wake up, signal to the entire body. Let us now step out of this uncanny threshold and emerge from that heavy weight that traps our bodies in bed. Let us focus instead on the healing and regulatory role of dreams in the depths of our souls. We are moving toward the secret therapy center that our mind establishes every night, exactly at midnight. Dreams are not just a biological waste cleaning process, or a sequence of random images, they are one of the most vital lines of defense for our psychological well-being. Although we often don't realize it, every night as we lay our heads on the pillow, our minds launch a massive operation to repair our souls, which are often crushed under the weight of the world. We can call this the power of REM sleep and the process of emotional resolution. As neuroscientist Matthew Walker states, dreaming is overnight first aid. The humiliations, disappointments, or losses you experience during the day sit in your brain like sharp, painful shards of glass. If we were to store these emotions directly into memory, we would feel the same searing pain every single time we recalled them. However, during REM sleep, the brain performs a miracle. It strips these memories of their emotional load. While dreaming, the production of noradrenaline, the stress hormone, is completely shut down. This is the only time in our lives when our brain is this calm. In this state of tranquility, even our most painful memories are reprocessed, but this time, it doesn't hurt. When you wake up, you still remember the event, but its burning sting has faded, replaced by a wiser sense of acceptance. If we didn't dream, every trauma would remain as a fresh, open wound. This brings us to the connection between anxiety and the chaos of the modern world. If you are experiencing recurring or distressing dreams, this is not a cry for help from your brain, but rather a diligent search for a solution. In people with anxiety, the mind creates more simulations to cope with the uncertainty of the outside world. Constantly trying to catch a bus, or getting lost on complicated roads in your dreams, is actually your mind rehearsing your real-life fear of losing control. It is doing the hard work in a safe space, right there on your pillow. There is also a delicate and complex link between depression and our dreams. Interestingly, individuals suffering from depression often plunge into the REM stage much faster, spending a large portion of their sleep there. The brain resorts to dreams more frequently, in a desperate attempt to repair the psychic collapse. But this can sometimes steal from the restorative N3 stage, causing you to wake up feeling exhausted. This shows that dreams are our protective shield, but sometimes, this shield can overwork itself in an effort to save us. Ultimately, we must learn the art of listening to our own dreams. Dreams are guides. If similar themes or emotions constantly emerge, your mind might be whispering about a problem you are ignoring while awake. This is not about mysticism. It is about biological honesty. The lies we tell ourselves while awake are stripped away in the unfiltered scenes of the dream world. Now, let us step out of these complex corridors of the human mind, and broaden our horizons. Are we the only ones who dream? What does your cat see when its paws twitch in sleep? Does a mouse dream of labyrinths filled with cheese? To think that dreams are a grace unique only to humans would be putting ourselves too far at the center of the universe. Now, let's move away from your pillow, and look at the midnight adventures of nature's other inhabitants, the secret dream world beneath the paws and wings. If we set aside our human-centered perspective, we realize that the Earth is a massive, dream ecosystem. It's not just us. Almost every living creature with a complex nervous system processes the day's fatigue through dreams. But what exactly is happening in their minds? What does science tell us about the hidden theater of the wild? Let's begin with the zebra finches and their midnight rehearsals of music. The world of birds is the clearest laboratory proving how dreams impact learning. Young finches need their sleep to master the complex songs they hear from their fathers. Scientists found that the exact sequence of neurons that fires while the bird is learning during the day, fires in the exact same order when the bird falls asleep. The bird is practicing in its dream. It etches the notes into its mind one by one, correcting mistakes in its sleep, so that when it wakes, it can sing much more accurately than the day before. Similarly, we see the same precision in mice and the bending of time. Experiments have shown that for a mouse, dreams are a tool for spatial navigation. The electrical map formed in a mouse's brain while running a labyrinth is replayed during sleep up to 20 times faster than real time. In its dream, the mouse doesn't just repeat the path, it eliminates dead ends and simulates the shortest way to the cheese. This proves that for a mouse, dreaming is a biological necessity for information to become permanent. Perhaps the most alien experience is that of octopuses and their dreams of shifting colors. While an octopus sleeps, the color cells in its skin suddenly begin to change, flickering through patterns used for hunting or camouflage, without any external stimuli. This suggests that the octopus might be dreaming of chasing prey or hiding from a predator. Seeing such a state in a creature so different from us proves that dreaming is a fundamental software of life. However, we must consider the risk of dreaming in the wild. In nature, dreaming is actually a dangerous act. REM sleep is the moment when muscles are paralyzed, making a creature most vulnerable. This is why predators, like lions, generally have longer REM sleep, while prey animals, like giraffes or deer, keep this duration very short. Evolution has established a delicate balance between the need for survival and the vital need to dream. Let us now emerge from this silent and instinctive dream world of animals and turn our focus to the ultimate and most technological frontier of humanity. We are no longer content with just describing dreams or classifying them biologically. We are now trying to see. For centuries, human beings have kept notebooks by their bedsides to remember their dreams. Today, however, neuroimaging devices and artificial intelligence algorithms are taking the place of those notebooks. The idea of watching dreams on a screen, which once seemed like something straight out of a science fiction movie, is moving from an impossible fantasy to a laboratory reality. This journey begins with fMRI and visual decoding, the attempt to project dreams onto a screen. Groundbreaking research in Japan has pioneered this technology. Researchers monitored the brain activity of subjects while they slept, and by feeding thousands of data points into an advanced AI algorithm, they achieved the impossible. The results were astonishing. The AI was able to predict whether a person saw a man, a building, or a book in their dream, with an accuracy rate of nearly 70%. Simply by looking at brain signals. While we cannot yet capture images at cinema quality, we can now read the keywords of a dream directly from the brain. This represents the first digital bridge, built from the silent world of the mind to the outside world. Beyond images, we are also seeing the rise of AI and dream translation. It's not just pictures, the emotional tone and complex scenarios of dreams have also entered AI's radar. Large language models are analyzing thousands of dream reports to decode the hidden language of our sleep. In the future, you might wake up not only remembering your dream, but also receiving a visual summary, or an emotional analysis report, delivered directly to your device. But technology is not only attempting to record dreams, it is also exploring neurotechnology and devices that induce lucid dreaming. Certain headbands are now being developed to perform brain stimulation. These devices aim to trigger a state of awareness by sending gentle electrical signals to the brain when a person enters REM sleep. They attempt to make you realize you are dreaming by lightly nudging your logic center. This opens the door to a future where you might be able to choose your own midnight adventures. Of course, this technological leap brings a major ethical debate regarding the privacy of our minds. What happens if our dreams, our most private sanctuary, become data accessible to others? The concept of neurorights is poised to become one of the most important headings in modern law, as we protect the final frontier of our personal privacy. Now, let us emerge from these cold but exciting laboratories of technology and look at the big picture by bringing together everything we have learned. Where is the science of dreaming taking us? Passing through this futuristic door, we now reach the final stop of our journey. This chapter will provide a general overview of the most mysterious frontier of human consciousness, bringing together all the scientific facts, historical perspectives, and technological possibilities we have explored. We are coming to the end of this long and peaceful journey we embarked on with the sleepy scientist. We have tiptoed through REM cycles, wandered the corridors of memory, listened to the whispers of the amygdala, and peered through a small window into the future of dream science. Yet, beyond all this scientific data, the most important thing we know about dreams is this. They are not merely noises echoing in our minds at night. This brings us to the beautiful intersection of science and the soul. Today, we know where dreams begin in the brain, which chemicals trigger them, and during which stages they take their most vivid forms. However, knowing the mechanics does not strip away the enchanting mystery. Dreams are still stories the brain tells itself. Sometimes clumsy, sometimes profound, but always deeply personal. No matter how far science advances, dreams will always remain part science, part soul, and part poetry written by the mind. So, what awaits us in the future? In the coming years, we will discuss concepts like neurorights, dream manipulation, and mind reading more frequently. Perhaps one day, we will be able to save our dreams onto a drive, or delete our nightmares in seconds. Yet, even when we reach that technological summit, the uncontrollable, wild, and free nature at the heart of the dream will continue to be a fundamental element that makes us human. Dreams are our last sanctuary, where the boundaries of logic end, and the infinity of imagination begins. As for my closing thoughts, tonight, when you lie down in your bed, do not wonder whether your mind will take you on an epic adventure, an old memory, or a strange scenario that defies logic. Just let yourself go. Your brain knows what it is doing. It is working to make the world more bearable for you while you rest, organizing your emotions, and preparing you for tomorrow. If this journey has made you too excited to sleep, I apologize, but at least you now know why your dreams are so valuable. That's a trade-off worth a bit of insomnia, isn't it? Before we part ways, thank you for accompanying me on this calm journey of the sleeping brain. If you enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to subscribe to the Sleepy Scientist channel or leave a like. From which corner of the world are you listening, and what time is it there right now? Knowing would make me happy. Now, close your eyes. Sleep well, dream freely, and remember, your mind continues to write stories for you, even in the dark. Good night.